When it comes to grilling a ribeye, man, you really can use any kind of grill. It's like my temperature to be around 550 to 600. It don't need to be any hotter than 600. If you go lower, if you're down around 475, 500, so often it's not hot enough to cook it the way I want to cook it. And so a Weber grill, I mean, that's a classic. That's what I used in the video. But any kind of charcoal grill will work, egg style ceramic grill like a Primo. Primo's great for cooking a steak. Even that open fire, like that, the Santa Maria style, the Crank It Up that I have, that's great for cooking a steak. So there's all kinds of them, all kinds of grills, open fire, whatever you want. As long as you got a good hot fire, you can cook a steak. That's the beauty of a steak cook, man. You don't need much.
Welcome to Malcom Reed's How to Barbecue Right, a podcast where we talk about barbecue, share recipes, and discuss all things delicious. And now, here's your host, Malcom and Rochelle Reed.
Hey, welcome back to the How to Barbecue Right podcast. I'm your host, Malcom Reed, and I'm joined by my lovely, talented wife, Miss Southern Shell. Tyler over to my left on the board. What's happening this week, folks?
It's miserable.
What?
The wind's blowing. The wind is blowing. It's raining. Everybody's sick.
Which one is it that comes
It goes
in like a line?
like a line and out like a line.
Is that March?
Yeah.
Is that your month?
Yeah.
The month of Shell? Shell's birthday's at the end of the month. So this is March is the month of Shell.
It doesn't feel like it.
Everything starts greening up. It's still cold. It's got to warm up a little. It's spring break.
I know.
Like this week, this
Next
weekend
week.
starts spring break all next week. Are we doing a podcast next week?
No podcast next week.
On spring break. No podcast. I'm taking some boys trout fishing.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
Today we're talking ribeyes.
Ooh. My favorite of the steaks. People ask me, which is my favorite steak? And usually I say, well, I can't just pick one. It's a ribeye. It really is a ribeye. It just doesn't, it's hard to beat that fatty ribeye, man. I like a filet. I ain't mad at a strip. Sirloin's edible, But when it comes down to it, if it's on that menu, I'm getting the ribeye. I think that would be my last meal.
I think it would be my last meal too.
Just the standard steak and taters. Give me a salad.
What would be the dessert?
Bread.
I got to have the bread and butter.
I need the dessert. Cheesecake, probably.
Yeah. So your YouTube video this week was
just me cooking a ribeye the way I want to eat it. Nothing fancy. I did use grill grates because I like to use grill grates. It makes it even cook. But I took a couple ribeyes and they came.
Well,
they weren't anything special.
Yeah, let's talk about finding ribeyes first.
Yeah.
How difficult is it to find a ribeye?
It's not difficult at all. Just about every grocery store will have a ribeye steak. If you're in a grocery store that don't have a ribeye steak, you probably need to go right back out that door. And that don't mean you can go to like Dollar Tree when they get
they got ribeye.
Yeah, but that don't count. Have you tried one, Tyler?
Yes.
How was a Dollar Tree ribeye?
I mean, I was a kid and we used to make steak sandwiches with them, but I remember them being nostalgically remember them being pretty good.
Yeah.
But
we need to go buy one and do like a TikTok or
They're probably
something.
not $1 anymore.
$1.25.
I'd cook it. I can't promise you I'd eat it.
I'd eat it.
You'd eat it?
I'd try. I'll be your guinea pig.
What do you think's wrong with that cow to end up at Dollar Tree? Like what beef ends up at Dollar Tree?
it's very like thinly shaved. Like it's obviously not a very thick cut and stuff like that. And I definitely remember it being very fatty. So maybe.
So was it like a steakum?
Yeah.
Do y'all remember steakums?
Yeah.
It was like those little frozen thin sliced steak, processed steaks that they make cheesesteak with.
Yeah, that's what I used to work at Steak Escape, and we used to use those to do the sandwiches. And I think it does remind me of that. Actually,
is that what they use? Is steak? They come like, I guess they come frozen little patties, kind of.
Yep, and then they're like separated by parchment paper. Yeah,
that's it. That's a steakum.
You chop them up.
I don't even know if they still have steakums. Do they? Are they still in the frozen section? Of the
I think so.
store?
Yeah.
That might be a TikTok. Let's do a steakum.
Yeah, so we got this steak at Kroger.
Yeah, it was just regular old choice grade. It was out of the butcher case.
Yeah, the ones that they had, because you kind of sent me on a wild goose chase to track down a
good steak.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted you to go to Sam's because typically they have some really good looking steaks and they're a little thicker. It's a beefier, just a better steak than Kroger usually has.
I made it to the parking lot of Sam's. And then I realized that the app didn't work. I don't have the card. I don't even think I'm on the account.
There you are.
Mm-mm. It's
Really?
just you and Waylon.
Okay, that's an old Killer Hawk account.
Old. And all I have is your app, the app under your account. Well, the app doesn't work until you, it was going to send a text message to you where you were.
Get my hairs cut. Yeah.
You were indisposed. So I was like, well, guess I'm going to Kroger. But the ones they had out in where you just pick them up and grab them, they were real thin. They still look good, but they were thin. But the ones they had behind the butcher cabinet.
That was 18 to 20 ounces.
Mm-hmm, they look good.
The kind that you want to eat. But I'm not, you can find one. I've bought a steak at Walmart. Of course I've cooked the fancy ones, like from Kevin at the butcher shop. The Wagyus and the primes he gets and all that, they're fantastic. But, those are special occasion steaks.
Yeah,
you're not going to eat those on a daily basis.
We're talking about regular Friday night steak.
Yeah, or just eat a steak for lunch. Cook your ribeye. If you're into the carnivore, you can eat steak whenever you want to. You can eat it for breakfast.
So, how far in advance will you buy ribeye?
Couple days.
Yeah,
because you can't age them at home because they've already been cut and exposed to air and everything. Like if you get a whole ribeye and it's in cryovac, you can if you know about when it was brought out of its case, has that pack date on it, you could age that and cut them up yourself and get a little wet age on them, and it makes them a little more tender, a little more flavorful. But I wouldn't do that to one I bought at the store. They'll start turning on you pretty quick. Now I have, and I'm a sucker for it, go by the end of the meat counter usually where they got all the discount meat because people haven't been buying it. And I've found some good looking ones in there that had they're probably a week old sitting out. Nobody bought them because they were probably marked up high or something. For whatever reason, I'll look at that discount meat. And I buy stuff there all the time. I don't buy chicken and I don't buy pork in the discount because that's the first ones to me that's going to go bad at the grocery store. But beef, if it's just got a little darkness on it or whatever, that's going to be okay. If it's green, I probably ain't going to buy it because I have seen some green stuff there. But if it's discoloring a little bit, I'll look at it and I'll gamble on that because a lot of times it's good.
At one point, our freezer was stocked full of discount meat because you just can't resist.
I can't resist a deal, man. I like a good deal. Y'all never buy it at your house, Tyler?
Nah, not really. I don't have enough freezer space. I need to get a deep freezer and that'd be set. But
the bargain bin, man. I'm a bargain chopper.
Bargain meat. So let's say dinner, you're serving your steak. Dinner's going to be served at 6:00. When do you start thinking about cooking that ribeye?
I'm probably going to take it out of the refrigerator about 2 hours. I'm going to get my salt base on it, whatever that is. Most of the time it's going to be AP or prime beef, or just like I did in the video. I just put prime beef on it and I let it sit out. I know that it's going to take my grill. I like to give my grill 1 hour from the time I light the chimney to the time I'm going to put my meat on it. I like to give it an hour because typically you're looking at about 20 minutes to get those coals getting hot. Time you dump it out in the grill, put your grate on it, let the grill come up to temperature. Usually I spray my grates really good, get a little oil base going on them, clean those, let those get good and hot. And that takes right at 60 minutes. And when I was doing comps, this is what I would do. We'd do our meat selection. I'd throw the meat in the cooler. Or I might go ahead and trim it as soon as I see it, but then I'd put it in the cooler, hold it out about 2 hours before I want to start cooking. Then take it out, then kind of start my I'm not going to call it a dry brine, but for the sake of it, that's that first seasoning. I'm putting a good salt on it. I'm not going heavy enough for it to be considered a salt brine or anything like that. But it's a good dose of salt, pepper, garlic, or some kind of beef rub or something like that. And that's kind of what that prime beef is. It just has a little bit of umami to it. Mark and them, they played around with dried mushrooms and to give it a beefier beef rub flavor. And it's got a little heat to it. It's got a little spice to it. And I really like that as a front rub on a good ribeye steak.
So, you also used a little Worcestershire?
Yeah, that's kind of a little trick I picked up. I don't know if it's a trick or not, but it makes the outside look really good. Like you think of it, people think, oh, you just marinate it in Worcestershire sauce. No, it's not like that. It's not like an old soak.
Yeah, back in the day, that's what we used to do.
Everybody would, Italian dressing, Worcestershire, maybe little Dales, put them in there, let them sit a couple hours in the refrigerator, poke holes in them and all that stuff. That's the way I learned. That's the way I used to cook steak.
Yeah.
But this is really, the Worcestershire is more for the browning effect it gives it. Because it does stain the outside of that meat a little bit. Because, I mean, a lot of times, or I've had this happen to where that meat it'll get a gray look to it in areas where it doesn't get seared. And when you're using grill grates, I'm just putting some real pretty marks on it. If you're using cast iron, it's not as bad. You can really sear that off and not see it. But if you're cooking with grill grates or something like that, where you've noticed, man, why does my steak look lighter? I know I put seasoning on it, but it just got a lighter color to it than I really wanted it to have. That Worcestershire sauce is going to help it brown up. And so that's what it does. And I've used other stuff besides Worcestershire. What's the one that
kitchen bouquet?
Yeah, it was a kitchen bouquet. You could put a drop of that on there and rub it in. It does a good stain too, and just gives it a good color. But that's just it's not really for flavor as much as it is for aesthetics.
So you pull it out.
Put my Worcestershire, little 2 or 3 dashes, rub it in on one side, kind of rub the edges, flip it over, do the same thing. It's got kind of a wet look to it. So it acts as a binder. It helps that seasoning adhere to it. It helps that seasoning start to melt in too.
So while your steak's over there kind of getting happy, as you like to say.
So really and I didn't really show this in the video, but in steak contest, I would do the Worcestershire or whatever I was using as a binder. I would put my first seasoning on, and then I would let it set, but every 15 minutes I'd come flip that steak. Because you'll notice, like when you put it down, I don't care if it's on a platter or a cutting board or a pan, whatever it's in, it's going to pull more moisture out on the side that's actually touching the surface it's sitting on. And so it's going to be really, really wet. And so I like flipping it over. And to me, it's helping it get even. So that top side's just not the only side exposed to the air. And you could cover it loosely with foil if you needed to. There's no use in wrapping it up tight or anything when you put that seasoning on it. Let it sit and hang out. And what you're doing is you're letting that steak slowly come up to temp, and it's not going to go very far. Now, I don't know if it was in direct sunlight on a 100-degree day, it's probably going to get hot fast. But typically, I'm indoor in the shade. Temperature outside's right around 70. I don't even know if it was that warm that day. So the steak probably internally, I would guess it might have been in the maybe 40. I don't think it hit danger zone if it did very long. But just know that when that steak gets over 40 degrees internal, you've got 4 hours to get it cooked up to a safe temp and 8, or you need to get it cooled back down because that's kind of that danger zone food safety wise. But I've never had any trouble with that, so I don't let it sit that long.
I was going to say, I wouldn't let a steak sit out for 4 hours.
No, I wouldn't let it sit that long anyway. Not in the seasoning, not outside on the counter, not 4 hours. But about an hour is okay, or 2 hours is okay. I would say mine sit hour and a half.
That's what I'd say, yeah. Hour and a half. And that's what you kind of normally do.
Yeah, normally.
Ish. So what's your grill of choice?
A hot one. When it comes to grilling a ribeye, man, you really can use any kind of grill as long as it's got a good. I mean, I like my temperature to be around 550 to 600. It don't need to be any hotter than 600. If you go lower, if you're down around 475, 500, so often it's not hot enough to cook it the way I want to cook it. And so a Weber grill, I mean, that's a classic. That's what I used in the video. But any kind of charcoal grill will work, egg style ceramic grill, like a Primo. Primo's great for cooking a steak. Even that open fire, like that, the Santa Maria style, the crank it up that I have, that's great for cooking a steak. You can do it with a drum with the lid off. It's, you're not really close to the fire unless you've got a drum that you could raise the fire up some, but it'll cook a heck of a steak.
You've done that before, and the flavor was really good. It was a super thick steak, so it was a longer cook time.
Tomahawks did really good on drum. I mean, the flavor on them is fantastic.
Was it a porterhouse you did the bacon tallow butter on the drum? That was really good.
But the PK, I mean, that was my steak cooking grill and comps that I love to use just because of the portability of it. So there's all kinds of them, all kinds of grills, open fire, whatever you want. As long as you got a good hot fire, you can cook a steak. That's the beauty of a steak cook, man. You don't need much.
Do you care about the charcoal? Like, do you want lump versus briquette, or do you care?
Yeah, I just want hot. Briquette seems to do good because I just know the time on it, and I know it's going to burn up when it's done. And I'm just going to have some ash left that I need to deal with. I'm not trying to put it out and save it. But if I was cooking steaks in my Primo, I'd use lump. Because I know I can get multiple cooks out of it. You're just not going to do that with the briquette. That's kind of the difference. I think lump burns hotter. It tends to burn hotter for me. So if you got to watch it on that, you might end up having to tone your grill down or not use as much fuel when you're cooking with lump. But I can get a good hot bed of briquettes and know that it's going to be right around that 600-degree mark that I want to cook at with one like chimney full.
Yeah, you've kind of got it down. You can do a chimney. It's 17 minutes to get the chimney hot.
I'm dumping. I'm getting my grates ready. I'm letting that grill get good and hot, and it's ready to cook. Often, many times when I get through cooking steaks, the grill is still ready to roll. Like it'd have another hour in it if you wanted to cook some more, but it's very rare that I'm cooking more than 3 or 4 ribeyes, just the way our family is.
I saw a TikTok where a guy was like, I cooked this chicken for dinner and now this grill's just ready to get hot. I don't even want to quit. Go find me something else to cook.
Never fails. It never fails. That happens.
So do you always do a 2-zone fire?
No, not always. I did for the sake of the video just to show that, some people are less experienced. They need a safe zone. So when I was cooking, and I knew I was only cooking 2 steaks, so it worked perfect for that section of grill grate. I had one of those grill grates that didn't really have panels. It was just a one piece. It's kind of a universal grill grate.
I like that.
Yeah, I do too. It's really easy. But what I really liked about it, if you saw in that video, I cooked both of my steaks, got them to where I wanted them, but they weren't all the way up to the doneness I wanted. And I could just push that little piece of grill grate over to the cool side and let them hang out there and then let them finish coming up. And after a couple more minutes, I'm watching them with my probe. It got to the doneness that I wanted, which was perfect. I'm always hesitant when I do a steak video. That's the one thing, like, man, if it's going to work, the money shot on a steak video is when you slice it and you open it for the camera and the doneness looks right. And often that's hard with beef. It's hard because sometimes the coloration's different and all that, but just when you nail it is just right. And it's always a gamble to me. It's like, man, did I overcook it? Did I undercook it? And this one just was,
to me, that was perfect.
We tore those ribeyes up that day.
We did.
That was some good eating. Really good eating. But so what I did we kind of skipped ahead to the cook process, but I hit them with that prime beef and I let them set while I got the grill ready. And that was kind of coming up to room temp a little bit. And then before I put them on, I went ahead and used a coarser seasoning. And that's where a steak rub comes in. And I like to layer those flavors. When you layer flavors, I don't use 2 things that are really, really close together because you don't taste anything. But when you do a texture difference, and it's like, the prime beef has salt. It has a pretty good bit of salt in it. It has a little heat to it. But when you add that with like a flaky salt and then like a coarser pepper and then some of those herbs that are in the steak seasoning, like the dehydrated onion, the dehydrated garlic, it gives you a really nice texture and really nice flavor balance with the other seasoning you put on it. And so I really like that.
And
that's like the perfect thing. Yeah, it makes a pretty steak too. Helps with the aesthetics, having that little crunch, that little crust on the outside of it.
When you go to put steaks on the grill, do you have what do you make sure you got with you? Because once you put that steak on the grill, you're there.
It's there. Yeah. For me, I like to use cotton gloves and nitrile gloves. The cotton glove underneath is kind of a buffer. If I'm touching something hot, I could pick that steak up. But, I'm not going to pick up a piece of coal or the grate itself, but I can definitely grab some hot meat with it.
So let me ask you, if you could only pick having tongs, you can only pick one, right? Tongs, spatula, and your gloves.
I would take my gloves.
You take your gloves to cook steak and just manhandle it?
Yeah, and flip it like that way, yeah.
I think I would too.
Because if you notice, even in that video, when I picked that steak up with the grill grate tool, I put it in my hand and put it back down. So I could definitely pick it up. Now, you have to have a lighter touch because you can screw the outside of it up with fingerprints and stuff like that. So you got to kind of watch how you do it. But the more you do it, you learn to use your hands a lot. And it's just, you got to be fast so you don't burn yourself up. And but I think that comes with handling hot stuff. You get used to it a little, get some calluses going. It doesn't hurt me as bad.
So you got your gloves.
So I got my gloves. I'm going to have me a platter to take my steak up in when it's done. And I'm going to have me a thermopin. And I'm probably going to have a basting brush, or if I'm using like a finishing butter or something like that, I'll have something like that there.
But whatever.
That's about it.
Whatever you
That's
need.
about it. Yeah. Just whatever you have it right there. Do a little, pre-gaming and bring all that stuff out so you're not having to run back and forth and leave your grill because
or holler.
Yeah, or
shell.
That's usually what I do. That's like, you got you a shell. You don't have to worry about nothing. Just tell her to bring it to you. Not everybody's got a shell. But yeah, that's it. I mean, it's pretty simple. What you need. I mean, steak cooking is really easy. I mean, you don't overcomplicate it. It's one of the easier things you can do. Just get your cold bed good.
So yeah, I think that's a big thing. Because when you were teaching me how to cook steaks, learning how to get that temp to the right, because I'd have it way too hot, and you get bad. It looks terrible.
It changes the look of the steak when you got it too hot.
Or it doesn't cook even. You get it too low, and you're like, why is my steak not coming up to temp? Yeah.
And I think giving it a head start, letting it sit out a little bit and get that initial chill off of it helps with that even cookness too. Instead of just bringing a cold steak right out.
Do you remember when we were doing steak contests and I said something about entering it? I'd entered a few, and I was like, can I enter this one too? And you were like, well, you can, but I just feel like we waste our money.
Oh.
I
said that to you. Yes. Oh, I don't believe that was me. I said that. I said that's my nice way of saying you can't cook. You are. And you proceed to kick my tail and say, I will show you.
A little fire.
I've ate plenty of my own words. I'm not sharing that. That was a mean thing for me to say, baby. I'm sorry.
Oh, gosh.
So when you go to put your steaks down on the grill grate, why do you always press them?
For even contact. I want it to make, I want that surface of the steak, whatever's touching that grate, because I was getting grill marks on it. But I would do it if I was just putting it on a regular grate or in a cast iron. I'd still give it a gentle press just for surface contact. And it just helps that browning effect on it. And it's what's going to make you have those even lines across, or they don't get broke when you're trying to put that little pattern on them. A lot of people don't like the pattern, but I think it looks good.
Why not?
I don't know. I mean,
what's the reason for not liking the pattern?
I guess they think I want all mine evenly crusted all the way. Well, I may not want all that crust on mine. I like some of it, but I don't want every bit of it to be charred up like that.
I like them both ways.
I like them both ways. I ain't gonna lie. But that's just me justifying using the grill grate, that it makes that steak pretty. Real pretty.
The reason I like using the grill grate, it does make it pretty, but it seems to prevent the flare ups.
It does that.
And it's kind of like a little buffer.
Yep.
So I'm not,
not as harsh
flames,
as being right on the grate. Yeah. It distributes it out. That grate acts like a heat sink, the whole thing. And so it spreads out and the whole temperature gets pretty even on the whole thing. So even if you're like, you've got hot spots, it's inevitable. You're going to have some hot spots in those coals, just the way they're laying in your grill, and some of them burn up faster and they're not as intense or whatever. But when you put that grill grate on it, it kind of takes all that heat from the bottom and then smooths it out across that grill grate. So you can cook out on the edges, you can cook wherever, and you still got a good hot grill grate for searing or cooking or whatever. And you don't get the flare ups. I do like that too.
So steak goes down.
I usually set me a timer. Haven't mastered the time in my head without a time device.
I couldn't do that. Yeah.
Because I get distracted. I would talk. It keeps me on point where I'm standing around I've got a short attention span. A minute and a half, I'm in a whole different conversation, thinking about cooking something else, or, let's drink a beer or whatever. And so I need that timer to go off to tell me, hey, come over and do something, do what you're supposed to do. And that's what I use it for. And when you're cooking with the grill grates, it's all about the time and then turning it and giving it an even time, same time on all the turns. So your marks look the same on both sides. And when you put the angles on them to create that pattern. And so that's why I use it. It's really like a 2 minute, 2 minute, 2 minute, 2 minute. I mean, that's how easy is that? And then see what your internal is, move it off the heat, let it come up the rest of the way, and bingo, you're done.
So let's say you weren't cooking on the grill grate. Steak goes down. Would you go 4 minutes, or would you still do 2 minutes, rotate?
I would probably move it and still try to get me some kind of grill pattern, just because I think moving it helps it cook more even than being in just one place on that grate the whole time. And if it was in a cast iron, I wouldn't rotate. I'd just flip, and I'd probably flip twice instead of flipping once on a cast iron, just to kind of get an even crust going. Because to me, if you leave that steak in place for 4 minutes, it's got more of a chance to make that big gray ring, like cook it hot on one side, and then it's harder to get that even cook all the way across it.
Or you might have a hot spot, you
Yeah.
need to rotate off the hot spot or something.
So moving it's okay. It's not like a burger where you need to leave it in place for so long till the juice starts coming up and then flip it,
So it's 2 minutes, turn it 90 degrees.
Yep.
2 minutes, flip.
Now this really depends on the thickness of the steak and on the temperature of your grill. So if you're in that 550 to 600 range and your steak is about 1.5 inches to a little bit thicker, you can take a full 2 minutes. But like say for contest steaks, often those steaks are only like 16-ounce steaks and they're 1.25 inches. Well, those might only go 1:30 each time. I adjust the time and temp, and that's just kind of something you've got to learn when you're cooking, depending on the thickness of your steak. Can it take the full 2 minutes before you need to do something to it?
Have you ever done just 1 minute? Like had a steak so thin?
Yeah,
Like
I have.
just do.
I have. I've had them only do them 1 minute, put them down, turn them. Often I'll do that with thin cut chops too, like pork chops. You can get a good sear on them, get the pattern right after a minute, do the same thing and move them over to the side and let them come on up. It's like an anti-reverse sear. It's a sear and come up instead of a come up and then sear.
Reverse sear.
Yeah, it's reverse. It's not just a sear because you are letting it get off the heat and come up.
So one thing that you do different when your steak gets up to temp, and what are you looking for? And where do you probe it?
So I don't probe it in the spinalis area because you get false readings because of all the internal fat. There's pockets of that fat that are doing beautiful things inside that spinalis, but it's not going to give you accurate readings on what the actual temperature is. So you're looking kind of the eye of the ribeye, the densest piece of lean meat. Usually it's dead center, or sometimes there's a little kernel of fat. It's right behind that, kind of midways. And that's where I want to check my internal temperature. And if I was putting a probe in one, I would put it from the side and try to get it about midways of that eye of the ribeye so I can get a true reading of what it's doing. Temperature wise, I mean, that's kind of up to you. Where do you want to eat it? Everybody's different. I'm a medium rare to medium no more guy. If it's over medium, I'm like, man, I just wasted this. I might as well be eating a hamburger at this point. So my magic number on a ribeye is like 128 to 130.
After rest?
No.
Before.
That's going to put me right at that range. A lot of times, sometimes like for you, I usually do 122 to 124.
That's what I was going to say.
Because you like yours a little bit less done than I like mine. But I will say this on a ribeye, especially a good grade ribeye that's got a lot of marbling, they can take a little more heat because you're not gonna render that fat at those lower temps, and so you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. Yeah, you're eating the fat and it's okay, but it's not good till it starts to render and starts to give it some. So you've got to get it hot enough to where that fat wants to start to melt a little. That's rendering. And then once it does that, it's usually going to be in that medium range. And I think that's what a lot of people don't realize, that, I love medium rare steak, but it's the lean I like medium rare. I don't like the fat medium rare. If my steak's fatty and I'm going to be eating that fat, I want it to be a little more done to where it's started to let go. It's not just chalky fat in that steak.
Valid. I still like it.
Yeah.
Almost bloody. Yeah.
And you'll still order your ribeyes that way.
Yeah.
But I would eat another cut of, I would eat a filet or a strip or even a sirloin way less done than I could eat them on the rare side, rare plus side, as opposed to I wouldn't want them medium.
So one thing that you started doing lately, because you used to take your butter and brush it over the top,
Yes.
and you kind of tweaked that.
I did. I figured out that what I really like about that is when it's on the plate and it's mixing with the meat juices and it makes its own
you put the
sauce.
butter on the plate and then put the steak on top of the butter and let it rest.
It wasn't doing a whole lot for me to baste the butter over it, other than being, looks pretty cool, but often it'll change the top of your steak. You can, it doesn't look as good when you brush it and do all that stuff to it.
It almost brushes the browning off of it a little bit.
And the seasoning and everything, you start putting it over it, but when you put it under it, the heat from the steak itself escapes into that butter and melts it. And then it mixes with whatever meat juices are leaching out during the rest too. And what you have is just this awesome steak sauce that you're not pouring out of a bottle, or you're not, it's just really good, rich, buttery fat, and then all that steak juice, and then the seasonings. And then when you run those slices back through that, you got something. It's really, really good. So don't put my dollop of butter. Like, when you go to Steakhouse and they serve butter with it, that's the first thing that I do. If they bring it out with a scoop of butter on top of steak butter, I'll take my little fork, rake it off that steak, prop it up, set it on top of it, and then work on my tater and salad or whatever else I'm doing. Let that steak sit there a minute. Let it melt that butter, because it's going to be so much better.
Did you see that A1 has a new steak butter? I think we might have talked about this before. I can't find it anywhere.
I haven't seen it, yeah.
And I even looked at Instacart to see if there was like a grocery store around here that had it. And
I wonder if I can make an A1 steak butter.
What do you think? It's just butter and A1?
I personally like A1 steak sauce, but you know what I eat it with? And this comes from hanging out at O'Charlie's back in the day.
Rolls.
A1 rolls, like those baked yeasty rolls, hot and fresh, dipped in A1 sauce, is so good to me.
Heck yeah.
Have you had it, Tyler?
I just love A1. Like, I love A1 on hamburger steaks and stuff like that.
I do too.
Really, really good.
There used to be a restaurant, I don't know if it's still open in South Haven. It was called Dale's, and they had an A1 burger.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just like, I guess they just glazed A1 sauce over the burger patty, when it come out. And I was like, man, this is the best tasting damn burger. What
was on it?
A1?
Like cheese?
Yeah, cheese and A1. They had a Velveeta burger too. So they had it figured out. We're going to give the fat people what they want.
Would you do A1 and cheese and Velveeta?
And then bacon. You got the bacon A1 Velveeta burger. You don't think that's good? Man.
How thick was the Velveeta on top of that burger?
It wasn't like no unwrapped slice. It was a chunk.
It was a chunk.
Like mama cut it for you.
There's two steak butters in our Kroger that are really, really good. They're not steak butters, but there's a private selection, which is a Kroger like private label brand, and it's the butter with garlic, Parmesan, and basil. It's really good for steaks. And then Land O'Lakes has one that's a garlic and herb butter spread.
That's my favorite.
That one's my favorite store-bought one. Yeah,
it's in a little tub, like the purple tub, I think. Is it garlic and chives or garlic and? It's something like that. Land O'Lakes garlic, and they don't even call it steak butter. But that's what we started using it for.
Mm-hmm.
Dang it! I just had it and I deleted it.
Really good. I don't even know what else you would use it for. Like, you're not going to spread that on bread.
I've tried spreading it on bread. It's not that
good.
great.
Yeah, it's like it would probably be pretty good on vegetables.
Yeah,
be good on potato.
But it's really good on the steak. A lot of times you take the butter and make up a little compound, and that's what we use. But sometimes we just buy that.
Sometimes just easier.
Yeah.
Land O'Lakes is pretty good butter. I mean, it's no Kerrygold, but Kerrygold don't have the compounded.
Oh, they actually do. That's what I was actually going to say.
Do they really?
Yeah, so they have like a chive and garlic Kerrygold.
Oh.
And then
where'd you see that?
I think I bought it at Walmart last time I was at Walmart.
Really?
It was the last time I cooked steaks, but it was definitely Kerrygold because it was my wife's first time having Kerrygold. It was kind of my introduction to it.
I got to look for that, Tyler.
It was really, really good. If I see it, I'll buy it also.
Yeah.
It's really good.
If it's at Walmart, I'm on it.
Ooh. I just Googled it.
You found
it.
So what does it say it is?
Garlic and herb.
Garlic and herb, yeah. Can't go wrong with it.
Was it in a stick form?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Okay. I was thinking
it's not
tub. Yeah.
A tub would be good too. But yeah, like I just put a couple pats on the plate and put it on top of that.
Put the steak on it.
It was good. Real good.
That's probably why we've never noticed it, because we were looking for a tub. Yeah. Garlic and herb Irish butter.
That can't be bad. St. Patrick's Day is coming up. We might have to use that for something.
Irish butter.
Irish steaks. All it is ribeye steak with Kerrygold butter.
Serve with a Guinness.
Serve with a Guinness, yeah.
So sometimes you cook 2 ribeyes in a strip, because Michael doesn't like ribeyes.
Yeah, he's not into the fat. He hadn't grown to like that yet. In fact, he will quit eating if he sees it on his plate.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not done.
Me and him swap.
Yeah.
He gives me his fatty pieces and I give him my lean. Sometimes do you do anything different when you're cooking multiple cuts at one time? Do you cook them all at the same time?
Yeah, there's no difference. It's just different internals. The technique would be the same. I would still cook a strip the exact same way that I cook a ribeye. I would just let it, once I got it seared the way I wanted, I'd move it over and let it come up to the doneness, and I'm going to take it off at like 122 to 124, the way you like them. And then that's the way Michael likes to eat it too. It's usually finishes out about 127, which is medium rare.
What if you were cooking a filet?
Same.
Or anything?
Like that. I mean, the best filet I think I've ever cooked, and Tyler will probably agree to this, is those garlic butter fillets that I did on the Primo.
So good.
And those, I did the same way. Actually, I reverse seared those. I let them come up slow, took them off, brushed them with the garlic butter and stuff that I made, put them back down, butter side down, and brushed them some more and let it flame up and really get them rocking and rolling.
Because at that point, you're using the butter to create sear. It really, right?
That's been one of my favorite ways to cook steaks too here lately, is the reverse sear, because I like that flamed garlic butter action at the end. But I'm really not worried about if those steaks aren't pretty. Like when I do them on the Primo,
pretty.
They were?
Yeah.
They don't have the grill marks. I mean, they sear, but it's all over sear because you're letting that fire really kiss them.
I was like, I think, what is it called? The Maillard reaction or something like that?
It's
something about a steak with a Maillard reaction for me. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's the grill grates is doing it. You're just getting it in lines instead of all over the whole surface.
So could you do ribeye that way?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I've done some that recently. I don't think you were down at camp when we were cooking them. That's how I started cooking them all deer season. I've done duck that way. I've done steaks. I've done deer meat. I mean, I've done a lot of stuff that way. Hadn't done chicken that way. How it would do.
I don't know.
That'd be bad. I don't know.
So resting, that's a big controversy.
I don't know why. Well, I mean, I get it. You're not going to let it sit there for 10 minutes. But I do think, like, and people say, oh, it's not really a thing. Like, you cut into it as soon as it comes off the grill and eat it. Not so fast. I want my butter to melt up under it. I want to give it a second. I want to work on that tater that's sitting there beside it, get it to my desired fixings. And so it's not like I'm putting a clock on it. So it's got to be 7 minutes or something like that. But typically, I mean, I'm going to let it sit there for a minute. But I would, just about every steak you get's going to. If you go out to a steakhouse, there's no way, as soon as it comes off the grill, they're getting it plated through the pass, out to the table, and everybody's getting it fast. You know, it's going to be a few minutes. So they are resting a little bit. But
I would imagine.
But you put one on the cutting board,
7 to 10,
and as soon as you throw it from the grill to the cutting board, go ahead and cut it immediately, and then you take one and set it there on a platter and just let it sit for about 5 minutes while you eat that one, and then try the other one and see which one's better.
So do you remember when Grimpy sent us over that video? I looked it up. It was Chris Young, and the name of it's on YouTube. It's called "Proof Resting Doesn't Keep Meat Juicy." Mm-hmm. And he broke it all down. He
got into like the weight of it, how much juice came out sitting there. And I mean, I don't think it sponges it back up or anything, but I definitely think there's something to it.
You just want it to calm down.
I just want to calm down a little bit. Yeah. Cool off a little bit. Melt my butter for me. Let me transfer some of that heat away from it a little bit.
I think that's enough reason to let it rest, is just let the butter melt.
Yeah. Let it melt. Let it make some sauce for you.
All right. So let me ask you this. When you go to a fancy steakhouse, what is your go-to steak topping? Do you have one?
I would no. If I get Oscar, which is the lump crab and the butter, I ask for it on the side, not all over my steak.
I have a fear of if like I have this beautiful steak and then they got a crappy lobster or a crappy crab and it's going to ruin
your steak. Yeah. But if I get anything, I'll usually order their steakhouse butter or cowboy butter or whatever they call it, and I'll throw it up under my steak to make a sauce. But I'm not big on I think that's just an upsell.
Yeah.
Usually, man, by the time you've probably had an appetizer you shared with the table, maybe had a salad for the greens for, good heart health and all that stuff. And then you probably got a potato or some sides to go with it. You don't need something extra to go with that big old steak too, or at least I don't.
If it's cooked right, I really don't want anything
I don't want it to be
taken away from the flavor. I'm with you. If they have a good butter, like if you got a bone marrow butter on that menu, I'm going to try that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely order that to put underneath it.
Yeah.
Something like that. But like getting a steak Diane or something like that, it's like, I don't need that to cover up if you need to put that all over the steak ain't good.
Yeah.
Is what I'm thinking. Or, I might like a red wine reduction. But I want it on the side. That way I can try it. I can try the steak with it and see if I like it. I don't want to just cover the whole thing and risk not liking it or covering something up. I mean, I just think it goes on the side. And like, I wouldn't order hollandaise over a steak. I'd eat it over the asparagus or something like that. But I'm not going to cover my steak in hollandaise.
So we went to Iris we went to Jim Gaffigan. Before Jim Gaffigan, we went to Iris, and Ashley ordered the filet with like a béarnaise sauce on top. And I didn't think I was going to like it. And it was like, I don't know, man. Like you're talking about with like the melts in the butter and the juices and stuff, like all of that combining at the bottom of the plate and dipping your steak
was worth it.
It was so good.
Yeah. But did they ladle it like over the top of the steak?
It was like a gentle ladle over the side of that, and then a gentle ladle over the vegetables.
Yeah. I do. I mean, it's a buttery sauce. I mean, it's not bad sauce, but I don't need my steak swimming in it, you know.
Iris is a little more of an exception than the rule. Yeah.
Well, they've got that. I don't know if was the surf and turf still on the menu?
I don't remember seeing a surf and turf.
That's where I had that's where I got the idea to do the strip stuffed with the fried oysters with the blue cheese dressing drizzled over it and all that. And
that's phenomenal.
Yeah, they saw the crab cake griddle cakes, which were super good. We tried a charcuterie board, that was okay.
That's one of the better restaurants in Memphis.
It's really good.
If you're going to a fancy steakhouse, Tyler, are you getting any topping on your steak?
Like I said, if they have a really good
money's not an option.
If they have a really good like compound butter, obviously, like I think I said this a few episodes ago, but Boo-Ray has a blue cheese compound butter, and that's really, really solid. But other than that, like I just like a good seasoning on the steak, and sometimes I'll even ask for extra seasoning on the side to kind of finish my steak with.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I don't do the crumbles, like blue cheese crumbles on top of a filet or something like that. That's just not. Give me that in the cheese course. I don't need it on my filet.
See, I don't want it like some steakhouses like Longhorn and stuff will do like a steakhouse like blue cheese melted on top. I don't like that because I feel like it completely ruins the experience. But just that melted blue cheese butter all over, and like I said, dipping it through the plate, just different.
Now I do want to try when Michael Hunter came down and cooked some stuff for us, and we went hunting back over a month or so ago. He said they take that foie gras and put it over a filet and then torch it, and it melts that foie gras. I would make an exception and try.
I'd try that.
That sounds just like indulgent. I mean, just like ridiculously good.
I've seen foie gras butter on menus before for a steak chopper.
That's what it is. It's like
liver
fatty liver butter. It doesn't sound good when you hear it, but when you taste it, you're like, what is this?
So
definitely tastes like some rich people food or something.
Yeah.
I ain't supposed to be eating this. This is out of my league.
So
give me the Velveeta.
You filmed that steak recipe, and then we came right back that night, and y'all were doing a Buck Junkies thing down at the smokehouse. So Mark cooked a whole bunch of ribeyes.
Like 20, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a bunch.
Yeah.
But he actually sous vide them, right? And then he grilled them on a gas event grill.
Yep.
They were pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, you told me. You said, I'm going to see whose steak's better, yours or Mark's. I said, bet.
That's kind of, it's hard to compare.
I didn't tell Mark that you'd tell me that because I know he'd really try.
Yeah. He'd be busting out all the stuff.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't have swam them in the CV.
That was a good way to do
if
them.
You've got to cook
and they were tender.
If you've got to cook a ton of anything, a sous vide is a great tool for that. But there is no way that steak is even in the same ballpark as a charcoal grilled steak. And I'll fight that till I go to the grave.
I agree.
It's just not as good. It's a texture thing. I can pick them out. I can pick it out. I can tell. That steak's been sous vide. And then you sear it or whatever you do to it, it's not the same. It's not the same.
You can pick it out immediately?
Yes. Mark's tried to fool me a bunch of times. We've had competition, not a competition, but a little.
Mark, a competition? No.
He's like, all right, I'm going to do these, and you tell me which one's which. And I was like, all right, let's go.
Oh, I think we did a video on that, didn't we?
Yeah, it was on the Out the Smoke channel. So if you go to Out the Smoke and go to the OG Out the Smoke playlist, you'll see
that. Yeah. I mean, it's good. It's good if you got to cook a lot of stuff. And I know why restaurants do it, because they're cooking a ton of steaks at a ton of different internal temperatures, and they got to get them out in a certain amount of time.
And it allows you to nail that
temp.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't like salamander steaks.
Yeah. You can pick those out.
Yes.
Like Ruth's Chris style or whatever. Yeah. That's not my preferred way to eat a steak either. In fact, it's one of my, I put it down there with sous vide. I just like them cooked over fire, like real fire, not broiled, not boiled, not air fried.
I'm trying to remember how you did do you remember like the peppered fillets you did for Valentine's Day a few years ago? I remember you had a cast iron skillet like on the Weber kettle, and I think it had all kinds of seasoning and stuff, but you got the sear first. And
it was a pepper crusted, yeah.
Pepper crusted. That's
and I put them back in there and basted them with butter and all that to get the crust on them.
But you got them over the fire too, and in my opinion, that was the best of both worlds.
Yeah, best of both worlds. Because you get the good sear crust, and you also get the grill flavor.
Yeah.
Now's a good time for us to take a little break.
The How to Barbecue Right podcast is brought to you by our friends at Primo Grills. Shell, did you know that Primo is the only ceramic grill made right here in the good old USA?
What? Are you telling me that Primo grills are proudly crafted here in the USA, ensuring top-notch quality and support for local craftsmanship?
I sure am. Plus, Primo Grill not only delivers mouth-watering flavor, but because of their innovative oval design and superior ceramic construction, Primo Grills also gives you a ton of cooking versatility.
Whether you're smoking low and slow or searing a steak to perfection, Primo Grills gives you the consistent heat distribution for mouth-watering results every time.
What she said, y'all. Y'all visit PrimoGrill.com and check them out.
So this weekend, you did a TikTok live.
I did.
It was
great.
Live.
Until I got kicked off.
We're not sure why we got kicked off.
I think so. I think we're sure. I got a pretty good valid reason. I got the note from them.
I was like 5 sheets to the wind, and I looked down at TikTok, and I got some sort of notification, and I was like, "Oh no, what happened?"
They got kicked off, violating community guidelines. It was with the marketing of alcohol, marketing and sale of alcohol, and I guess they assumed that I was trying to
promo
Miller Lite, and E.H. Taylor whiskey or bourbon, because I just happened to have been drinking Miller Lights, and I set that bottle up there and poured me a drink. And I mean, people were asking me questions about
what's your favorite bourbon?
Miller Lite.
Yeah,
and I thought it was valid.
Was the title of the TikTok live Millers with Malcom?
No,
I was about to say because maybe that was
so. We didn't have a
Were we supposed to have a topic?
How do you get a topic?
I don't
Look, Tyler, we looked up and I said, I think here's how you go live. And it said live, and then it said this, and then it said countdown, and we just went. We didn't know what we were doing.
We're two old people trying to figure it out.
I did stage up my stuff. I said, I'm going to need all this to cook wings, and I'm going to need a bucket because I'm going to need me about 6 beers. And then if I want a whiskey drink, I'm going to bring out this bottle of Taylor that I needed to finish off. And we went to cooking wings and just talking, and it was awesome. I had a blast. I can't wait to do some more of them. We'll probably have to do it we'll spread it around. We won't just get kicked off TikTok every time.
We'll try to get kicked off YouTube too.
So they'll kick us off YouTube. So they'll kick us off Facebook.
Well, it's too easy to break TikTok's community guidelines. So.
Yeah.
Man, they're so sensitive.
It's like all kinds of stuff will get you kicked off of there. So.
You can be over there in nothing but some little teeny tiny underwear, and they'll let you stay on there all day. Every time I'm flipping through mine, I see these women on there, scantily clad, talking to all these guys, trying to get roses, trying to get me to send them money. I mean, I stop.
I was going to say, sounds like this is your algorithm.
But they don't kick them off. That's perfectly fine.
You're just taking a sip of whiskey.
You get one guy drinking a little bit of whiskey, and there he goes.
I thought it was because of Sadie. We had our a Labrador Retriever.
Right by the grill.
It
wouldn't like she was there the whole time. She'd just come up to say hi.
Yeah.
I did say, Sadie, sit. I don't know if people thought I was being mean to her or something, but that's her word to sit down. I didn't know. And then I was playing music, so I didn't know. But I knew it wasn't the music because I watch people that play all kinds of music on there.
You're playing Mark Chestnut.
Yeah. This Mark was on there. He might have reported me. Mark Chestnut.
I've seen people like live stream whole sports games on there and be fine.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Crazy.
I did ask Garth where the bodies were. I didn't know if that would have got me, but because that's how it all started. But that's not a community guideline, is it?
I have no idea. But you grilled the wings on the Weber with the vortex. Yeah. They turned out really great.
Really good. I did a little vinegar sauce, butter, hot sauce at the end of them. I used the vortex. So I set up the vortex, showed how I did that, got it good and hot, seasoned my wings up. A little AP, just a touch of hot rub, nothing sweet. Put them on there, flipped them after about halfway, moved the lid like I was supposed to move it. We went all the way, Tyler. We got to the point where I took the wings up, I think,
You were making your sauce.
I was making the sauce when they kicked us off.
That's crazy.
And so people didn't get to see the finish, but I think we did a little video on the story
yeah.
to finish it up, kind of.
Mm-hmm. So I have a weird question about a vortex. Could you use a vortex on like a Primo grill?
Yeah.
You could?
Yeah, you could use it on it. You can use it. They say you can use them on any grill. I think if it's more of a dome-shaped lid type grill, it's going to work better because wherever you got that vortex is forcing the heat straight up. And if it's just got just a flat lid or something, it's not. It seems like it would disperse better in a dome or an oval shape. So I think it works. That's how it works the best, but you could definitely use one in it.
Cool.
You also did a smoked cream cheese with crawfish on top?
Yes, that was a good one too.
So
I did. It was.
What'd you call that one? Crawfish cream cheese?
I don't even know what I didn't call it anything, did I? It's smoked cream cheese with a crawfish topping is what it is. It's kind of like Creole crawfish smoked cream cheese or something. I don't know. I'd have to think of it. We hadn't released it yet. So.
Yeah, we did.
Oh, is it out?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did started with a Trinity. Actually, if you've been slipping on, I know smoked cream cheese was a fad. It came up. And I didn't say I jumped on it, but I did a couple of them.
Oh, you did one with a bacon?
Oh, yeah, bacon jam.
Bacon jam on top of it?
Really good.
It was really good. Yeah.
Did a dessert one too, I think. But man, I don't know why you wait so long to smoke cream cheese. It's delicious. It's really, really good. Like it takes just a regular block of Philadelphia cream cheese to another level, putting some seasoning on it and warming it up in the smoker.
And
it's like a dip ready to go.
And it gets like the perfect texture.
And it doesn't run and melt, It's just...
It just smears perfect.
I did 2 blocks. I kind of scored the top, hit it with a little king crawl. Had a little flat cast iron skillet, threw it in there at 225, and it went about an hour and a half. Well, while that was going, I was topping this one. And the reason why I did it is because it was Mardi Gras this weekend, last weekend of Mardi Gras, I was like, well, we'll do a little Cajun theme, something, throw it out there. So I started with some finely chopped up Trinity, onions, a little red bell pepper, and a little celery. Seasoned that up with a king crawl, had some olive oil and a little butter, pat of butter going in the skillet. Started softening up that veg, added some more butter because I'm trying to make it not a runny sauce, but I wanted to make it like a rich, kind of semi-movable sauce.
Yeah.
And so it really wasn't a sauce. It was more of a topping.
Well, you told me you got the idea from New Orleans barbecue shrimp.
Yeah, but I was using crawfish, and then it wasn't so when I think of barbecue shrimp, I think of the sauce that you're dipping the bread in. Mm-hmm. So I was using those same flavors, the Cajun seasoning, Worcestershire, lemon, your vegetable, all that good stuff that goes into a barbecue shrimp, seasoned it up with king crawl and some garlic. I just used the garlic, I call it. And then it just came together and just kept it warm until my cream cheese got done and then spooned it over the top of it, served it up with some party toast. That was it. You can serve it with chips, crackers, toast points, whatever you want. Pork rinds, be pretty good with.
Pork rinds. I bet that would be good because everything's kind of creamy in that dip and the crunch from the pork rinds.
That's why it played so well. And I guess the vegetables, sauteing them down like that, brought out the sweetness in the crawfish, and the sweetness with it really went with the richness of the cream cheese. So it wasn't like a dessert type dish or anything. It was real savory, but it still had kind of a sweet tone.
It did. Just a
lightly sweet. Yeah. It didn't last. We had several people there, but we took it across the way and just let people eat on it. And man, they smoked it. It was that was good.
I feel like you could put pretty much anything on smoked cream cheese and it's going to get eaten. It'd have to be bad.
Not tuna fish.
Tuna fish.
That'd be horrible. That'd be horrible.
I saw some guy on TikTok. He did ranch seasoning on the smoked cream cheese, and then he made up fried pickle chips, and they were dipping it through that. And
that's good.
So good.
So he just took his cream cheese and sprinkled ranch on top?
Yeah, it was the little ranch, Hidden Valley shaker.
Yeah.
Put it right on top.
You could do it buffalo chicken style.
Yes.
And that would be good. Put your chicken in your buffalo sauce, season your cream cheese with the ranch like you're talking, and then bring it together with the chicken and the sauce and then put it over the top, and it'd be like buffalo chicken dip, but it'd be more like party appetizer, not a casserole.
Yeah, scoop.
But it'd be really good.
We also got an awesome king cake this weekend.
Man, where did that came from? That little...
It was a bakery, but it came from Gambino's.
Was it Gambino's?
I think so.
It might have been. I don't know. It was the best one I've had in a while.
I've been seeing them in the grocery store, seeing them around because we get them pretty regularly up here. And I was like, no, we don't need a king cake.
Yeah.
Finally, last weekend, somebody brought them, and I got to enjoy a piece.
It was good. It was the cream cheese one. Man. I didn't even make a boudin one this year. I was slipping.
Yeah. You've been too focused on chasing animals in the woods.
You did whip up the Blue Plate special ranch dipping sauce.
Oh, yeah, to go with your wings.
Ranch dipping sauce to go with those wings that night.
If you're choosing Blue Plate or if you're choosing mayonnaise this weekend, choose Blue Plate.
That's right. Don't give that up for Lent. It makes a great tartar sauce for Fridays.
Ooh, it does make a good
Quality
tartar
mayonnaise
sauce.
since 1927.
Oh, it is Friday Fish Day.
Yeah. Does that mean catfish is on the menu?
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds good.
I'm not Catholic, but I like Friday Fish Day. So I got a few things from the community to talk to you about.
All right.
Scotty made a post letting us know that Pringles and Miller Lite are doing a collab.
For like a flavor?
Beer can chicken flavored.
Huh. That'd be interesting. I'll try it.
I would too. I'm a sucker for the new flavored chips too. But it even the Pringles can has a gold top to it.
Yeah. I need one of those just for nostalgia.
At first I was like, is this for real?
Is this for real? Yeah. I wonder how they got with Miller Lite. That's the same companies maybe, or I doubt it. I don't think they own Pringles. Are you a fan of Pringles? Do you like your chips in a bag or chips in a can? Pringles
are okay.
They're okay. It's just like after a few of them, they start tasting weird to me.
Yeah. Get a little
like don't eat the whole can. You do the little like half of the little fat stack can.
Yeah.
That's about the
lunchbox can.
That's the perfect amount of Pringles.
I feel like they need to put a push bottom on them so you can
bring them up.
Yeah, because it's so hard to fish them out after, and you start breaking them. And
their sour cream and onions are okay.
I like the ones. It's the cheddar ranch or whatever. It's like a combo flavor.
Those are good.
They have one that's pizza, and it's not very good.
Tastes like school pizza to me. Like a weird, that weird flavor that old square school pizzas has?
Yeah.
That's what that tastes like. It's like they captured that in a chip.
It's similar to Lay's for me, and I don't really love Lay's. Like if I'm going to eat a chip like that, I want it kettle cooked or something. I want a little more of a crunch to it.
Yeah.
I want a little more flavor.
I'm a Miss Vicky's fan. I ain't gonna lie.
Oh, yeah.
Miss Vicky's jalapeno.
Mm-hmm.
My biggest problem with Lay's is I like sour cream and onion chips, but it feels like they keep pulling back on their seasonings.
Yeah.
You know who has a good one? Local?
Lenny's?
Have you ever, Lenny's sour cream and onion. I know they're probably getting them private labeled somewhere. It's not like they're making all these potato chips Lenny's recipe.
So Lenny's is a sandwich shop we have. I guess it's regional.
Yeah. I know they're in the Memphis area. I don't know if they're all over or not, but
they have private
like a Jersey Mike's.
Chips.
It's kind of like a Jersey Mike's. But they have their own potato chips, and their sour cream and onions are the bomb.
Heck yeah, they got so much seasoning on them.
I have to try those.
Just go in there and get a bag of their chips. I didn't get a sandwich.
They got to make them uncomfortable. Like, I just want your sour cream. Like when you guys go to Subway and just order the bread. Like, sure, it's similar.
I don't need your meat.
The one time I did that, she didn't bat an eye. She was just like, okay.
Man, Lenny's bread's even better than Subway's.
Mm-hmm. I think Lenny's has the best bread. I don't know. It's been a minute since I've had Jersey Mike's.
I like Jimmy John's bread the best. I like Jersey Mike's sandwiches the best, but I like Lenny's chicken salad the best. So I have different.
They closed Jimmy John's.
Yeah, the one in South Haven. There is.
I've never had Jersey Mike's. I don't think.
Oh, so good.
It's been so long.
Really?
They have a really good pepper relish. So if you like that kind of thing with a sandwich,
that's my jam at Lenny's. That hot relish, sandwich relish, whatever.
We're gonna have to make a field trip to. Is there a Jersey Mike's anywhere
it's
close?
Right by where I get my haircut, Olive Branch.
Right next to it. I see it every time I go.
And I've never been in there.
Oh, that's our next office catering lunch is coming from there.
Let's go. Jersey Mike's.
So Ron said he wants us to start doing a travel podcast.
I like to travel.
Or a weekly
talk about our travels, or we go travel and do it there, because that's a little more difficult for us.
Hey, no, that means I have to come.
Yeah, that means you have to travel.
There you go. I don't want people following me around on vacation with video
with
camera.
cameras. I like to talk about it after the fact.
Yeah.
Like, go try it and come back and report.
Yeah.
That way, if the people are there, I'm not saying anything bad in front of them, you know. But kind of like diners, dive-ins, and drives, where you go to a place and you get the behind the scenes, and then you get to try their stuff.
Yeah.
I think you need to do it, but don't tell the people that's what you're doing. Like, you wouldn't get to go back in the back and see everything. But if you just go somewhere, randomly order this stuff, really try it to see if it comes out, that'd be a way. I like Big Tay Eats does, where he goes and gets it and he goes back to his car a lot of times and eats it in his car and gives you the real lowdown.
See, I feel like that could only work for so long, because then after you start to pick it up, after you're
they're going to recognize.
They're like, oh, you're about to review my food.
It's like,
I would need like somebody to go in. Like, Tyler, you go in and order it.
Perfect. That's what we were getting at. That's all I needed. Be your man, dude.
You come back out and we review it. They don't know who's really reviewing it.
But on Ron's comment about us doing a travel podcast, Heath commented to do a reality TV show, kind of like the Osbournes. He could see you walking around the house yelling,
like the Oz?
Yeah.
Sharon.
I was like, he does do that.
I do. Just not in a stupor.
Not usually.
Yeah. A drug haze stupor. That's not my style. Mine's more arthritic stupor, I guess. Until I get getting old, Shell.
So Aaron said they went to a barbecue restaurant and they saw that they were serving chipped pork. And they're asking, have you ever heard of chipped pork?
I've heard of chipped beef. That's the stuff that comes in a can.
Yeah, I love chipped beef.
What's chipped pork?
So Bill kind of answered. He said, chipped pork refers to a specific style of ham barbecue where a smoked boneless ham is shaved very thin on a meat slicer.
Gotcha.
Creating a fine texture. And Matt commented that in Alabama, several of the barbecue places where he is local, they'll ask you if you want it chipped, chopped, or pulled.
Huh. I got to go to try that somewhere.
Yeah.
See if y'all can give us a recommendation on places that close to us that serve chipped pork. I got to go try that. I've never heard of it.
I hadn't either. And you would have thought that'd come up at some point.
So our ways, it's always, you want it chopped, pulled, or crunchy. I usually get it pulled and crunchy, which just means it has some of the barky stuff on the outside mixed in with the pulled. I very rarely order it chopped. I just figure if you're chopping it all up, it's probably not as good.
The bad part, yeah.
I guess that's more North Carolina way. They chop everything.
Around Memphis, it's usually pulled.
No, there's a lot of chop too.
There
now.
is some
They
chop.
ask you, yeah. But I prefer it pulled. I would always say go to Top's Barbecue, for instance. It's just like the local chain that's everywhere.
And it's good.
You can order it. If you don't specify, it's going to be chopped. But if you specify pulled, they will pull out some and pull it by hand. That's what I like about it, because they pull out a chunk. I figure, well, it's going to be the freshest or juiciest because it stayed together the longest.
I tell you what, talking about Tops, I could go for a Tops hamburger right about now.
Man, the Tops double cheese.
I never had one. I need to go
to South Haven and get that Tops double cheese.
The only time I've ever been, I got the nachos, which have like the baked beans on it and stuff. Which
I've never had nachos. I didn't even know they had them at Tops.
I just got excited because I saw barbecue nachos.
Yeah.
I was like, oh yay, and baked beans. I don't know. Yeah. It was interesting, but
like if I'm gonna do nachos, it's got to either be at a sit down restaurant, probably Central, or it's gonna be at a ballpark.
Yeah,
I would never
It's not gonna be at the top of your list.
Yeah,
that's what I think I was craving, was like those rendezvous nachos they serve at the Grizz games.
Mm-hmm.
Super good.
I love barbecue nachos.
Yeah. So this past weekend, y'all were doing a bunch of Buck Junkie stuff down at the farm, and so I took some colossal hot dogs and I threw them on the smoker. And I busted out the nacho cheese machine. And my goal was that you were going to have hot dogs and nachos. But
ballpark style.
Yeah, ballpark style. But y'all were out there working in the field. And it was kind of like Mark came up and just put a dog on a bun and then loaded it down with nacho cheese and like wrapped it up and took them out to everybody. And they were talking about how good they were.
So good. Nacho dog. Nacho cheese dog is where it's at.
I've never done that.
Oh, when you unwrapped it, it was just cheesy, gooey, and big old smoked quarter-pound dog. Nathan's quarter-pound dog. Those are hard to beat.
Yeah, those are the best hot dogs going.
It's a lot of dog.
Yeah, it's a meal. But anyway, nacho dogs are
It's a thing.
it's a real thing. Oh, Mal, that's all.
Have you seen how they do the Mexican hot dogs?
Yes, I want to try those.
Those with the Nathans would be really good.
So they cook them like with
They
all
kinda
the
split
peppers
'em.
and stuff?
Yeah, they split the dogs or score the dogs really good. Throw some oil in a skillet, and they'll throw 7 or 8 dogs in there, split and, or cut up. Peppers, onions, little jalapeno, fresh tomato. Saute it all up, but then they got the hot dog bun, but they just like butter the outside and start toasting it. And then they bust it open and load it up. And it looks so freaking good. They put cheese on top of it and let it melt.
And the one I saw, they were putting like onions and cilantro and stuff on it.
So good.
Yeah. You got to cook that.
Man, I know. That's just something you want to eat.
Mhm.
I don't care about the video on that one.
Yeah, that's just right.
The gringo style hot dogs.
Well, Malk, that's all I have for you today.
All right. Well, Tyler, do we have anything going on right now in the community, or you want to tell folks about that real quick? Just the community in general?
Yeah, we got our March community giveaway coming up really, really soon. We got some announcements to make really, really soon regarding that. But in the meantime, y'all head on over to facebook.com/group/H2Q community. And like I said, all of the comments and questions we got were from that community here today. Share recipes, comment on other people's stuff, and you're likely to be featured on the podcast.
That's right. Michelle, where can they find us?
If you'd like to connect with Malcolm, it's HowToBBQRight on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, and of course, YouTube. If you'd like to connect with me, it's Miss Southern Shell on Instagram and TikTok.
All right. Well, we hope y'all have a great weekend. Enjoy your spring break if y'all are on spring break.
We'll
we
be
will
back
the week after next.
Week after next.
Let's do it all again. We gone.